Hello everyone, it's Tony here from Locks to Reads. Welcome aboard. I just thought I'd do my August TBR. Well, my ridiculous reading plan August version. Now, my short-term TBR has 53 books on it. I like an ambitious target. I'm not going to read 53 books in a single month. Even if I was to read, well, maybe I could if I read 12 hours a day every day, but I suspect that's unlikely to happen. What that is a combination of the various reading projects that I've got on the go, which include the Milton Project, or the Half-Arsed Historian Project, as I'm calling it, which I am going to be sort of doing in August as part of the reading. Part of it is my read all the Booker Prize winners project. Part of it is read all the SF Masterworks project, which is connected to the read all the Hugo winners from 1971 project. And then there's all the various individual author projects, which includes Ian Banks, Ian M. Banks, the Brontes, Anita Bruckner, Barbara Pym, Charles Dickens. I'm just looking down this list here. Milan Kundera, Ursula K. Le Guin, John Le Carrier, Murakami, George Orwell. I'm sure this is fascinating, me just listing names off. Then there are the next books in Anthony Powell's A Dance to the Music of Time, which are At Lady Molly's, Casanova's Chinese Restaurant and the Kindly Ones, Terry Pratchett, reading the second books in 3 series that I started and haven't got any further in, which are The Subtle Knife, which is from Philip Pullman, Harrow the Ninth, which is the second book, Tamsin Muir's second book in that series, and there's one more, Naomi Novik, the second book, Naomi Novik, the second book in the that series. I can't remember. I can remember the title of, or the book that I'm supposed to be reading. Then there is my reading group is doing Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. So that's got to be read. Oh, The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik, which is book 2 in that series. And then there is the Booker Prize. Now, I'm not going to read all the Booker Prize long list. I've promised to do it every year for a number of years, and have never actually achieved the whole long list, I don't think. I have miraculously done the whole short list a couple of times. There are some books on the list that I'd like to read, and the ones that I will do. Also there's Jane Austen as well. Finishing off the Tove Jansson project, which with a collection of her letters and 2 biographies. Hence 53 books. And library books. Now, my priority, I've decided this month, is to clear the library books. I've returned things, renewed things, got other things out. So that's going to be the priority, is to clear the library book pile. But first of all, let's talk about what I'm actually in the middle of at the moment. So I've started a reread of Larry Niven's Ringworld. That's obviously in the SF Masterworks side of things. I remember really enjoying this the last time I read it, but when I'm 52 pages in and I couldn't remember almost any of it, which is not Larry Niven's fault. It's my fault for not having a very good memory. So what I've done is I have tried to make more copious notes this time, in an attempt to remember what I'm reading. I've said before on this channel that I often read very shallowly. Why is my collar doing a... Anyway, so I've only just noticed that. Anyway, that's number 1. Number 2 on the list is Adonis, selected poems, which is a Yale University Press book from 2010. 2010, which is a collection of the. He was born in Syria in I think 1910, moved to Lebanon, then moved to France. He's an Arabic poet of some repute. So far, I'm finding it absolutely fascinating. It reminded me a little of Rumi, um, but it's also a reminder that there is poetry in the world that is that beyond English. This is obviously translated. Actually, who translated this? Um, Khalid Matawa, or Matawa. Um, so yeah, there's that. Then we've mentioned this before. Piers Plowman, by William Langland. That's part of my. I'd almost want to call it a classical education, but that's not what I'm trying to do because I think that comes weighted with things that aren't in my plan. But I'm enjoying this. This is the prose translation. I have a poetic translation that I'm going to read at some point later after I've read this. I understand why people do prose translations of poetry, but I don't. Something in me tells me it's not the right thing to do. But anyway, I'm enjoying it though. It's very good. It's translated with notes and introduction by A.V.C. Schmidt. I always find a collection of initials is a very academic writer's choice. Then, again, I've mentioned this before, I'm working my way very slowly through John Clare's major works. I am really, really enjoying this. I think John Clare is one of my favourite poets, I think, at this point, I'd have to say. I'm really loving this. I'm going to have to think about how I review this because I don't think I haven't highlighted. Well, I have highlighted stuff, and I've ruined this for anybody who gets it following me because I have written in it in pen. I have underlined things. I have basically done all the things you're not supposed to do. I've written notes in it, but I'm finding this. I have a relationship with this book that I don't always have with with books that I read. In the sense that they always say you should be in conversation with the book. I kind of am in conversation with this book, and I think it's got. I've said it again before, and I will say it again. I think it contains some of the best nature poetry written in the English language, and that John Clare, who is now better known than he was, should be better known. And the last one that I'm reading, that I'm in the middle of, I'm doing a reread of J.L. Carr's A Month in the Country. That's a very short book. It's only 166 pages, I think. I will finish. So those are my priorities to finish. My plan is to finish at least 2 of them. Well, 3 of them, including A Month in the Country, because that's relatively easy. I can finish that in no time at all. Is to finish at least 3 of them over the weekend. Maybe 4 of them. The one that I won't finish over the weekend, because I don't really want to treat it that way, is John Clare's major works. And then the other priority for August is my big pile of library books. Now, how do we do this? Let's start with... Well, let's start at the top of this pile. First of all, Isaac Asimov's The Gods Themselves. I've read the first trilogy of Foundation by Isaac Asimov, which I enjoyed. I've read a number of the robot novels and some of the short stories. I like Isaac Asimov. I really like the robot stories. I really need to do a reread of Foundation because I think I just rushed through that. So this is again on the SF Masterworks, and I think this is on the Hugo prize list as well. I've said before, although the cover artwork often gets mocked, I would love to have a complete collection of this SF Masterworks. If I ever win the lottery, you will know that has happened because they will be. Well, I'll be in a different place. Number 1, and 2, there'll be a complete set of bookshelves with a complete set of SF Masterworks on it. So that's number 1. Things may fall down when I'm doing this, which is often what happens in these circumstances. What next? What next? Ah, let's do the. We talked about the Milton project. So I've started um, work on that. Oh, well, this is the other. Actually, this is another one that I've actually started. Um, this is Diane Purkis, The English Civil War: A People's History. Um, this is very good so far. Very interesting. I am 100 and odd pages through it. Oh, actually, nearly 200. No, 140 pages. Um, so that's one of the sort of English Civil War books. Um, the next one is The Restless Republic: Britain Without a Crown by Anna Key. This came out in 2024, 2022. I should know. I should look these things up, but why not? Why? Oh yeah, 2022. It covers the actual period of the Republic. So actually, this this hands over to this in terms of sort of a historical train of thought. And then finally, I spotted this in the library, and I thought it would be worth reading as sort of a parallel track to the other things I'm reading. This is Women All on Fire: The Women of the English Civil War by Alison Plowden. This came out in 1998. I know nothing about this book. I saw it in the library. When I'm in the library, I am very much a picker of books by random mood. I took a list in me of books to find in the library to see if they had them, and they had absolutely none of them. So, but it is only a smallish branch. It's Acton High Street Library, so it's not exactly the British Library. But I'd hope to get one of the books. But no. So that's that. So that's the English Civil War 3. Oh, actually, no. There's a related one. Oh God, this is you will hear things falling down in a minute. This is Devil Land: England Under Siege, 1588 to 1688 by Claire Jackson. This came out in 2021, although this is the Penguin 2022 edition. This covers England's. I am English, and I do that terrible thing that English people often do of using Britain as a synonym for England. Britain and England are not the same thing. Scottish people and Welsh people and Irish people and Northern Irish people will tell you that. But this covers the sort of period in the 17th century where England went through civil war, plague, they murdered a king, bankrupt, incompetent rule, bankrupt. I mean, it was a mess. And it was seen, I mean, as it says on the back here, foreign observers called it Devil Land, hence the title. This is sort of related to this. It sort of covers a longer period. But I've heard very good things about this book. So that one was actually, when I saw that in the library, I grabbed it for the good intentions. Next, let's go to the 18th century. We have A Subject for Taste: Culture in 18th Century England by Jeremy Black. Decency and Disorder: The Age of Cant, 1789 to 1837, by Ben Wilson. I have grown over the years to have a fascination for the 18th century and the 17th century, and a little bit the 16th century. I have less interest in the Tudors and Stuarts, except in relation to the English Civil War. I don't know why I have such a sort of disinterest in the Tudors. Don't know. There's got to be a reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm increasingly resemble a fat Henry VIII in my old age. And then there's more. There's a lot of history in this pile. Shall we do? Let's do the two. Well, you've seen some of these before because I've renewed them over and over again. So we've got Arnhem Black Tuesday by Al Murray, and The Liberation Lie: The Last Untold Story of the Normandy Landings. These are obviously both World War II books. This one is about the work done by railway workers and engineers to get supplies out of Normandy after the invasion. And this is obviously about one day during Operation Market Garden. In fact, this is the day, having read the sort of introduction to this is the day where I think Al Murray reckoned things. it turned from a possible success into a complete and unlikely and a certain failure. I could be over paraphrasing that, but that's what we got. Um, let's go backwards in history. This is Arise England, Six Kings and the Making of the English State by Caroline Burton, Richard Partington. This is a history of England between 1199 and 1399, like all which sort of helped create an English state. Some of this was covered in the book I read recently by Helen Castor, which actually is one of the reasons I picked this up. It's a chunky boy, but like a lot of non-fiction books, a fair chunk of it is notes and appendixes, although there's not a lot in here. And actually, is there a bibliography in here? I'm going to be very disappointed if there's a bibliography in here. Oh, there's a sources and further reading section. There's no notes. This is obviously aimed at a general reader, because I think you find the more general the reader is, I think publishers are afeared of notes and proper bibliographies when the book is aimed at the general public, because they think we're like a lot of people who do. Actually, this is me making a massive generalisation, but I do get the impression a lot of times that people who make media and entertainment of all kinds, whether that be history or television, assume that the general public is stupid and needs to be spoon-fed everything. I'm not entirely convinced that's true, although current politics might seem to indicate otherwise. I actually think people are smarter smarter in dealing with the entertainment and media they are dealing with than they are with the politics. That's probably a very snobbish attitude to take in 2025. I'm 54. I'm going to be dead soon. Who cares? Next, where do we go? Let's go Dante. I've had this translated by Andy Cameron. This is Alessandro Barbero's biography of Dante. I read the Divine Comedy last year. I loved it. I want to reread it in another translation, at least one other translation. I want to know more about Dante, so that was why I picked that up. It's been sitting on my shelf, being re-renewed and not read. This is why this part of books. I'm going to read all of these in August if it kills me. Then let's go for England: A Natural History by John Lewis Stemple. This looks at sort of 12 habitats in England. It says iconic habitats, but I hate the word iconic in the way it's thrown around all over the place now. It should be held in high esteem. Iconic. Just 12 habitats in England would have done. But it's read book blurb. I give it a bit of permission to wander off the straight and narrow. Every year I say I should read more science and nature books. Which I'm using as a category, using the Trivial Pursuit categories. Science and nature, orange, if I remember rightly. Well, that's sport and leisure. Science and nature is green. Yeah, you go. Bit of a side tangent then. So I'm including this in that. I have suddenly had a penchant to read a book about owls for reasons it's far too complicated to go into. I bought one yonks ago, and I haven't gone around to reading it. So I may add owl book to my 53, but I'm probably not. I'm determined to be on the straight and narrow. And then finally, a serious book about the modern world. Disclosure: Unraveling the Psychops Files by Kate Wilson. Kate Wilson was actually part of this process, was involved in this process. As it says here, she was criminalised as part of that process. The Spy Cops scandal is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I understand that the police have to monitor certain things for intelligence purposes. I think their choice of targets is much broader than it needs to be. 99% of protesters are harmless, and most of the causes that these people were supporting are perfectly reasonable. But the history of the British police and authorities in dealing with any kind of protest is pretty bleak over time. Um, you only have to look at what was done to trade unionists over time um, to get that. But I know some of the story. I watched a really good documentary about it that was made it clear what an absolute disgrace it was. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. I might bump this up higher to the list and get it read because it's not particularly long, and I think it'll be a reasonably straightforward read. Although it'll probably make me angry, which is an easy thing to do these days. There is definitely a thing as you get older about it's easier to make you angry about stuff, and it's easy to be nostalgic about stuff, and the nostalgia sometimes overwhelms your common sense. Is the world a better place than it was when I was 20? Probably just about. The politics is worse. The politics is far worse. Um, and the dishonesty is worse, I suspect. But day to day life, if you're, I mean, not for everybody and not for everything. Not if you're living in Palestine, not if you're living in very poor places, but for a bog standard fat white Englishman, things aren't too bad. And I would have loved to have had access to the internet when I was at university, um, and coffee shops, um, and but instead of that, I got a grant and affordable beer. So swings and roundabouts. So that pile there, the books I've read out there, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Those are the 18 books I'm going to read. That's my priority reads for August 2025. I'm sure I will wander off that. I need to get them into an order. As I said, I want to finish the ones I've started, with the exception of Claire's major works, and then work out a system for, or a way of doing the rest. There is not much fiction in there, it has to be said, so that might have to be addressed as a priority. Um, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So yeah, so that's my August TBR. I hope that is of interest. If it isn't, I apologise. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because it apparently helps with the algorithm. I do think this channel is slightly problematic for the algorithm. Apart from that, it's just a fat old white bloke talking to a TV screen without any whiz bangs. But also because I think my reading habits are quite eclectic, so it's not easy to put me in a pigeonhole for reading habits. So I think that's going to be a problem going forward. But I didn't start this for those purposes. I started this for two reasons. Some honesty coming in. One, because I actually want to have a conversation about the books that I'm reading, which is why I would like people to comment and ask me questions and talk about any of these books that they've read. And the second thing was I was hoping to get a big enough following that publishers would, particularly publishers of big chunky non-fiction books, would send me books to review. I'm not going to lie about that. That's very high on my list of reasons for starting this. Yeah, so there we go. It's coming up for 24 minutes. It's going to be about 25 minutes by the time I've finished waffling. The weekend is almost upon us. Friday's tomorrow. So I hope you're all looking forward to having exciting things. And I will catch up with you in a couple of days with another video, of which who knows what it's going to be. Something will strike my tiny little mind. Anyway, have a good one and goodbye.